All right. Hi, I'm Adam Heimlich from Chalice Custom Algorithms. Excited to bring you part 8 of algorithms in advertising. All right. So this is where it gets super exciting for me. We get to a topic I'm really passionate about. That's open web and open source auction protocols. So we could call this programmatic episode, but we're going to title it use cases because that's what it's really about, right? Last episode we talked about Google, which we would call today, I would call a network use case, which is a unified supply and demand source, right? The supply is google.com. The demand is all using AdWords, which is a software platform for buying, bidding on keywords on google.com. And what you get when you buy are clicks. So the use case for this, the advertiser use case, is AI for people who want clicks. As we said last time, clicks are a proxy for sales, proxy for conversions. So if a click is a good proxy for conversions for you, then this is your use case, right? The google.com use case is click driven. And keeping with our biggest theme of how things got the way they are, it's easy to see how a click driven network fits a DR use case, right? You're not going to do a lot of awareness driving or top of funnel brand affiliation growth through clicks. People don't see an ad, click it, and develop a positive view of a Honda Civic, right? That comes through brand advertising, not through clicking ads through to a website and shopping for something, right? That's fits e-commerce, right? Shopping and DR much, much better. So Google has this bias for DR and clicks, and they have this really powerful network by 2004, and they very quickly start spreading out their use case around the web, right? Through a product originally called AdSense, and its distribution of Google Ads and the Google Click model to thousands and thousands of websites, right? So Google convinces all these websites will help you monetize, be part of the Google network. You could show these Google text ads. Later, it includes Google display ads. If someone clicks on the ad, you get some of the money that we make from that click, right? It's a revenue share. So that's kind of sets the stage for competition in display advertising across the thousands and thousands of websites that exist by the early 21st century. What happens in this competition, to just cut to the end, is Google wins and dominates to an extent that its DR favored use case becomes dominant across all display and all video advertising all the way until the present day. But it's worth covering what they were competing with and how Google won. So we'll talk about how the competing auction model grew up from about 2008 and what happened in the first 16 years of competition with Google's network. All right, so the alternative auction, and first there were alternative ad networks, and they didn't fare very well, and it forced publishers to sign up to be in the Google network or in the AOL or the Microsoft or the Yahoo network. Not really a good deal for publishers, right? It's not like TV networks where you join a network and that's it. Like they were incentivized to join all the networks, and it caused conflicts and a lot of the money getting soaked up in the middle. It was just a short period of a model that didn't work. But from about 2008, 9, 10, 11 are the years that the open web model grows up. It's loosely called programmatic advertising, also called open web advertising. The most important thing about it, and the thing too few people know, is that it's made possible and that it's unified by open source technology called the OpenRTB protocol. You could look up the OpenRTB protocol and you could read it. What's important to know is that it's public, it's open source, anybody can use it, and that it standardizes how a website should post an auction. And by standardizing it under the same protocol, it unifies that market. So all the websites that are using the open auction protocol are essentially in the same auction, right, competing, and everyone who bids into the open auction protocol has access to all the supply, and that way that's unified, right? Any publisher has access to all the demand, and any bidder has access to all the supply. And the reason people like me and thousands of other people working programmatic are so passionate about it is because this creates a marketplace of unbelievable opportunity. It's like if you could set up a shingle and a shop and have access to, all the customers walking through Shibuya Crosswalk in Japan every day, right? It's like an enormous amount of traffic coming your way. If you set up a website, or if you have a better ad tech tool, or a type of advertising targeting or ad format, right? You can have access to enormous demand. And if you are a demand source, right? If you're an advertiser and you want to get the word out about your product, you have access to enormous supply that can feed you enormous amounts of data to help you shape your advertising, right? Different websites on different topics, in different places, at different times, on different devices. All these features of a bid request are standardized and sent in the open auction protocol, and then you could bid on all these different ones. All right, so it's super powerful and took a consolidated effort, many great entrepreneurs to stand up this marketplace, to get it standardized, and it's governed by an organization called the IAB, especially the IAB Tech Lab should get a lot of credit for governing OpenRTB and regularly releasing updates to OpenRTB so that it could accommodate advances in marketplace like mobile advertising and video advertising, connected TV and connected audio, right? Programmatic has been able to grow with all these advancements. And because the IAB Tech Lab has standardized how they would be added to bid requests, right? And join the unified auction. So it's now, it would have been controversial a few years ago to say that Google set out to ruin this marketplace. It's still a little controversial, but less now, and that Google has been charged in an antitrust case, as I speak to you, in September 2024. It's about to start, and the trial is about to start, but already many documents have been revealed that make it a lot less controversial to say Google saw the open web model and the open auction protocol as a threat, and set out ways to diffuse that threat, to make that auction less powerful. And they did it by getting involved in that auction, right? By turning their network into an exchange, and even tying their network to an exchange. So the Google network, all the sites that they signed up for AdSense, become exclusively part of Google's exchange, which is not how it's supposed to work. Like a website's supposed to have as many exchanges as it wants. So they make that exclusive, and that causes an imbalance in the market where by far that one exchange has most of the traffic. They tie that exchange to a publisher-side ad server, so that's the actual auction technology. So Google ends up running a majority of the auctions under the open source protocol, because you have to let Google control your auction as a publisher if you want to get all that demand coming through exclusively through Google's exchange. They tied those products together. That creates an imbalance in the marketplace. And then the big one for AI and advertising was a change that did not get a lot of press, is not really covered in the antitrust trial. It didn't happen until 2016. And this was the merging of Google's search data, which you can think of as intent data. If you search for something, then you have some intent around that thing, with Google's ad exchange and display advertising business. So you can think of this as the old Google.com business and the display business that they got through the acquisition of a network and ad server company called DoubleClick. They acquired that acquisition happened in, I think, 2005. And, during the government investigation and to approve that merger, the question came up, like, would you ever merge your search data into the display market? And Google answered, no, we would never do that. And they didn't for a long time, but in 2016 they did. And this really changes the display marketplace, that all of a sudden there's this enormous amount of search intent data powering algorithms, combined with Google's ability to tie products together and control auctions, that tilts the entire market for AI advertising Google's way. And in that tilt is your answer for why so many use cases for algorithms and advertising favor DR. Google has excellent reasons to have a DR bias. There's the legacy reason of is the first thing in advertising, and they're trying to prevent change, but also because a search is so often the last thing before an action, and Google is first and foremost a search company. Google benefits from greater valuation or a bias of the valuation for the last thing a customer does before they buy something. So that is where that bias comes from. And so early on in the series, episode 4, I talked about how you can build an AI-based model and algorithms, and my company Chalice does this for top of funnel metrics like awareness building or offline sales through a set of stores distributed across a huge geography, or anything else that an advertiser is trying to do. If there's data on it, you can model it and you can deploy that model through bids. But almost all of the productionalized systems, right, until very recently, any productionalized system was built following the Google model of productionalizing basic DR functionality. It was like the only use case that the advertiser market had ever been offered. So the model gets replicated from Google to Facebook to Amazon, very, very focused on commerce, and leaving top of funnel advertisers, brand advertisers, underserved. This underservice results in a lot of critiques and complaining, and programmatic gets more than its share of these critiques as a very public and transparent marketplace for ads that partakes of the bias that all algorithms and advertising have. But the complaints are reasonable, saying there's not enough emphasis on creative. Like these algorithms, most DR algorithms, they don't care at all what the ad says. In fact, they're usually making a prediction that the data model was created without any knowledge of the ad, right? It was created before the ad was even uploaded into the system. So when you're looking for people who, let's say I have these cough drops here, you're trying to predict people who will buy cough drops. You try to predict it before you have a cough drop ad. So a question that's never answered is, who will buy these Walgreens honey cough drops if they're aware of them, right? You never find out because you're just predicting who will buy cough drops in the next couple of weeks and throwing this ad in front of them, and the machine doesn't know anything about this ad compared to the prediction it made a month ago, right? So it's just predicting who will buy cough drops, not actually helping the advertiser with the question they should care about, which is, if we show this ad, who will buy these cough drops, right? It's sort of, they might think it's good enough that you predicted who will buy cough drops, we served the ad, and some of these people bought ours, but you're not modeling to what you should care about, which is the impact of exposure on the purchase. And you're never finding out how many of those people would have bought your cough drops anyway, how many people were actually influenced by seeing this ad, and even how many people saw it at all, right? Some ads are never seen. Just because it shows up on a screen doesn't mean somebody sees it or pays attention to it if they do see it. So when we call this series Beyond Bias, what I'm really trying to do is get the viewers, or as many people in the industry as I can, to understand that this bias in algorithms that starts with Google and is replicated through Meta and through Amazon and through a long tail of other competitors just doesn't have to be that way, right? This was a standard that through productionalization and successful monetization and kind of a locking up of what I would call the distribution points for algorithms, right? The platforms are where algorithms are distributed, that because there was until very recently no other way to get other algorithms into these distribution points, all the market knows that can be productionalized and distributed is basically a DR algorithm. All right, so that said a lot. I invite you to ask questions, poke at that, try to learn more. Credit, as always, on the illustrations to Marley Baker, Chalice's director of content. Thanks a lot for listening. I'm Adam Heimlich at adam@chalice.ai, and I'll see you soon with episode 9. Bye.